Hello and welcome to the training for the Kentucky Spring 2021 Social Studies Field Test. My name is Scott Wilson from Pearson. I will be walking you through the training today. We will be talking in three different sections. First part is an overview. Second part is important dates. And the third part are the specific steps to prepare for online testing. So for the overview, for the Spring 2021 Social Studies Field Test, we will be testing grades 5, 8, and 11. There are 8 forms for each grade. For the test time, the Social Studies Field Test should take students about 60 minutes. It is important to note that TestNav will not shut off on a student once the time is up. So if they go over 60 minutes, TestNav will not shut off. KDE's guidance has been that if students are working diligently, they should be allowed to work beyond the time limits. Some general testing information to accommodate for the various technology needs. Students may test on different days. Most students should complete the test in a single continuous test session. There may be some exceptions for students with 504, IEP, or medical needs. All right, next we'll move into some of the important dates. Here on this table, we have some important dates. Beginning with Pearson, we will load the student data into Pearson Access Next prior to March 15th. On March 16th, Pearson Access Next will go live and the training sites will be available. Also on March 16th, the DACs can create any user accounts that they need to. DACs can also start to create test sessions, enter additional orders for accommodated materials. The second table here shows some of the same information, but it's for different users for the BAC, the technology staff, test administrators, and students. Again, some of these are the same dates as the DAC on the previous slide. Now we'll talk about some of the specific steps to prepare for online testing. So for the social studies field test, we will have accommodations. We will have large print via paper. We will have Braille also via paper. And we will have text to speech, which will be online. So for students using the paper accommodations, they will be testing using a test book and a student response booklet. These accommodation kits for these students will be ordered in Pearson Access Next via the additional order process. We also want to let you know that we do have materials available for students that require a human reader, but all the requests for that material needs to be approved through KDE. For the accommodation kits for large print and Braille, if you order one of those, each kit will contain a regular test book, a student response book, the accommodation memo, along with the large print or the Braille test book, whichever is applicable. All of the accommodated test kits will be ordered via additional orders. As we talked about on the important dates, the additional orders can be started on March 16th and they can be ordered all the way through June 14th. There are specific instructions for ordering accommodated materials included in the Pearson Access Next navigational instructions. For the text-to-speech for social studies, in previous years, we've provided the text reader accommodation. This spring 21, it is being replaced with an online text-to-speech. The text-to-speech functionality will be online, as I said, and students will be placed into test sessions. In order to receive the text-to-speech functionality for a student, it must be turned on in Pearson Access Next. There are two options to turn that on. The DAC or the BAC can enter the information directly into Pearson Access Next, or the DAC or BAC can export a file, make updates to the student records on that file, and then import the file back into Pearson Access Next. To turn on the text-to-speech functionality, there are two boxes that are pictured below. Both boxes will need to be checked. As we mentioned before, there are two ways to do that. The one option will be to go to the user interface, go to each student record and select the boxes. And then the other option is to export the file, indicate on the file which students need text-to-speech, and then import that file back into Pearson Access. The file import will automatically turn on those boxes for the students that are selected. We do know this is a new process, so we are creating some specific instructions on how to do both options. These instructions will be available in early March. They will be posted on the Kentucky portal under the Pearson Access Next Guidance Documents tab. The next few screens will show the ordering of the accommodated material and additional order process. This process is similar to, or pretty much the same as it has been in the past. So on this slide, you have information on creating the additional order, getting it started, putting in the date you need, selecting items. The next slide here has a screenshot of the information you'll need to put in on the contact information, where it's shipping. You'll select the items to pick. You will see a screen similar to this that has a list of all of the materials that are available. You can scroll through, select the materials, the amount of materials that you need, and save that. Now we're going to talk a little bit about test sessions. The first thing with test sessions that you have to do is create the test session. You can start creating test sessions on March 16th. You will need to create a test session for social studies in grades 5, 8, and 11. There are specific instructions for creating test sessions. Again, those are located on the Kentucky portal under the Pearson Access Next Guidance Documents tab. So after you create your test sessions, you need to prepare the test sessions. So all sessions must be prepared before they can be started. What preparing does, it actually assigns the correct form to each student within the session. So for example, for social studies field tests, there are 8 forms. It will randomly assign the form to the students within the session. You can start to prepare your sessions a week or 2 before testing. Then again, if you go to the Kentucky portal, under the Pearson Access Next Guidance Documents tab, you will find information on preparing test sessions. So after you've created your test session, you've prepared it, you will need to print the student test tickets and the seal codes. Each student must have a test ticket in order to sign into an online test. That ticket will have the student's unique username and password. Keep in mind, all test tickets, rosters, seal codes are secure documents and they must be kept in a secure location. Each student will have a test ticket for each content they are taking, and each ticket is unique to each session. You will need to print out the seal codes. The seal codes are unique 4-digit numbers that are used to control the student access to each section. These seal codes can be written on a whiteboard so all students can clearly see what the codes are for each part of the test. For spring 2021, the social studies field test will have only one seal code. You can find information on all of that on the Kentucky portal under the Pearson Access Next Guidance Document tab. Next, you'll see a sample of the student testing ticket. This will have the student name, the test that's in the session. Also at the bottom, you will see the username and the password that the student will need in order to sign into their test. Next, we have a sample seal code sheet. It will list the session name, the test, and at the bottom, it will have seal codes. This particular sample shows 2 seal codes. For the social studies field test, you will only have 1 seal code. So now you've created your test session, you've prepared it, you've printed your student test tickets, you have all your seal codes and everything all together. So now you need to start the session in order for students to log in. So to do that, you can start one session at a time, or you can start multiple sessions at the same time. Again, if you go back to the Kentucky portal, under the Pearson Access Next Guidance tab, you will find specific instructions on exactly how to do that. After you've started the session, you're handing out the student testing tickets. It's very important to ensure that the student has the testing ticket with their name on it. So have the students verify that it is their name that is on the ticket. Once you've done that, students will launch the TestNav app from their device. After they've launched the app, the sign-in screen will appear and they will put in the information for their username and password. So here you see what the Pearson TestNav app icon will look like. So the student will click on that. It will come up with a Kentucky sign-in. You will see here in the middle, it has the username and password. That's where they put the username and password from their testing ticket. After they enter that information, they click on sign in and they will be taken into the test. As soon as the students sign into the test, the first thing that they will see is the student honor code. There will be a box that they will need to check in order to move forward. They will not be able to move forward until they check that box. After they've selected the honor code, the next page will be the seal code. This is where the test administrator will write the seal code on a whiteboard so all students know what that is. Once the students enter the seal code, they will be able to start testing. When students are done testing, it's very important to make sure that they submit their answers and then exit out of TestNav. Next, we want to talk a little bit about student transfers and new students. We know there's a lot of students that move around within the state and even students that transfer or move into the state. For students that transfer to a new district or school within the state, that process is handled with what we call a work request process in Pearson Access Next. This involves the DAC from where the student is coming and the DAC from where the student is going or testing. There are specific instructions for this in the test administration manual, and also the next slide that we have here. This slide shows the work request process in detail. One update or change that we did make last year for the work request process, you needed to use the Pearson ID in Pearson Access Next. We've changed that now, so it's the student's SSID. For the new students that come into your school or district from outside Kentucky, they will need to be added manually into Pearson Access Next. To do that, you'll click on Setup, then select Students, then you'll go to Select Tasks, and then click on Create and Edit Students. After the student is entered into the system, they will need to be registered. Also, since the student is new, they will not have a content assigned to them, so you will need to assign them the social studies field test. Here is a screenshot of the Create Student page from Pearson Access Next. Just kind of shows all of the information that you will need to enter. Next, we have a screenshot of the register page. So remember, after you create the student, they will need to be registered. And that's all we have for today. If you do have questions, KDE will be setting up different meeting times and dates for everyone to call into the meeting and ask their specific questions. Pearson will be joining those meetings with KDE, so we will be able to answer your questions, any questions that you may have specifically on the social studies field test. All we have left on this slide is some contact information. We do have the contact information here for KDE OAA, and we have the contact information for the Pearson Help Desk. And that's all we have for today. Thank you. We appreciate your time.